Okay, so I was reading a tweet, and it was from James Edwards, and it said that Dwayne Casey said for the first time this year, all 15 Detroit Pistons players were able to practice. And now, doing some deeper digging into that, not all 15 were able to have a full practice, but there were portions of the practice where all 15 players at once were participating. And that got me thinking about what the future looks like. All right. So, what we saw early on is we have this hope of at least a three big rotation and possibly even a fourth with Noel. But he was hurt in the beginning. And then Bagley gets hurt. And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, you're down to Stewart and Duren. Hopefully nobody gets in foul trouble. And then Duren goes down with an ankle injury. And all of a sudden you're Stewart and Noel. And I know Nerlens Noel is thin, but oh my goodness, does he look thin? Like he looks frail. It looks like there's something wrong with his health. Anyways, that's not what this video is about. This all got me thinking about the potential of the two big lineup for the Pistons. I was not super excited about this because I was like, what are you going to do? Duren and Stewart? That seems like the best option. But what does Duren look like with Bagley and vice versa? And I think Stewart can play with either one of them. So that looks really, really well, or that looks really good. I'm not still sure what Bagley and Duren's going to look like. But anyways, here's why I am so excited about the potential of a two big lineup for the Pistons. The Detroit Pistons had three very interesting games very recently this week. There was a back-to-back against the Milwaukee Bucks and then a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And something became shockingly obvious. In one of those games, they played really tough and they played really tight with the Bucks in Milwaukee. But the other two games, we never had a chance. And it was very clear. With the Bucks, you had two guys on the floor for the majority of the time, and they were on the floor together. It was Brook Lopez and it was Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if you have Isaiah Stewart as your only big, basically, who's guarding the other guy? If Stewart takes Lopez, Giannis has a massive matchup advantage. Bogdan? Saddiq Bey? They're not stopping him. Okay, so we get it. We'll put Stewart on Giannis every once in a while because he has lateral quickness, but he also has the size to body up against him. Okay, then Brook Lopez is just going in the post against Isaiah Livers. All of a sudden, Bojan Bogdanovic is supposed to hold Lopez, who spent the first 8 to 10 years of his career just using the post. He was good enough to be an NBA player without a three-point shot. He was a good enough post player to do that. And you're like, you're going to hold him? And then the Cleveland Cavaliers come to town. And you have a couple of bigs there with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Are you telling me with two guys that are 7 feet tall, you want Bojan Bogdanovic to guard one of them? You want Isaiah Livers? There were times where Hamidou Diallo was going at Giannis against the Bucks. Hamidou Diallo was going against Evan Mobley. Are you kidding me? Cade Cunningham? Like, we didn't have anybody else. There was a period against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have multiple 7-foot good basketball players. Our starting center was Knox. It was Kevin Knox, and it was actually one of our best stretches during that game at the end of the second quarter. That is ridiculous. So when I hear in practice that Bagley's close to coming back, when I hear that Duren should be back or is back, right? And I'm recording this, so I think Duren's going to be back for the game against the Thunder right now. But here's the thing that we have to look at. All of a sudden, when we're playing the Bucks, when we're playing the Cavs, who are in our division, by the way, we're going to have to play them often. When we're playing the Pacers, remember, we got bullied by the Pacers because they had two bigs that they were playing at the exact same time, and we couldn't match up. So all of a sudden in division, I'm not saying you change your starting five. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying you come with your rotation a little sooner. And so all of a sudden it's like, all right, Isaiah Stewart's out there. Well, 5 minutes into the game, we're going to get Marvin Bagley in there. We're going to get Bagley in there 5 minutes into the game. He's going to play for 12 minutes. Stewart's going to play with him for 5 or 6. And then Duren's going to come in and play with him for 5 or 6. And all of a sudden, just getting dominated on the glass, it's not happening. Because Isaiah Stewart's rebounding the ball well. Jalen Duren is by far the best offensive rebounder we have on this team. Bagley, for his many issues on the defensive end, is a pretty solid rebounder. So the rebounding issue doesn't happen. This idea of, oh my goodness, how are we going to score offensively because we have small guys on big guys, and like it's none of it's a problem anymore. And I'm not saying that Stewart and Bagley are as good of a front court as Giannis and Lopez. I'm not saying it's as good of a front court as Mobley and Allen in Cleveland. I'm not saying that. I am absolutely saying it's as good of a front court as they have in Indiana with their two bigs, but that's neither here nor there with what is it, Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Green. Like Jalen Smith, sorry. Yeah, they're better than them, but here's what I am saying. Even if they're not as good, they can compete. I love Bojan Bogdanovic. I like Sadiq Bey. I love the potentials of Isaiah Livers. I like the athletic ability of Hamidou Diallo. I don't like any of them matched up against Giannis. I don't like any of them matched up against Evan Mobley. It's not going to work. I don't like any of them defensively against Brook Lopez. It's not going to work. So we're sitting here with just such a clear mismatch every time we go on the floor. And if we can just get healthy and we can start deploying 3 bigs for the game so you can play 2 at a time often, or at least match up when you have to, Dwayne Casey's got to be like, please get them healthy. I need this. I want this. This is what we've been wanting to see. And I understand it's going to mean now, here's the one circumstance in which I will get frustrated with. If all of a sudden you have Stewart is playing a good amount of time, Duran's playing a lot of time, Bagley's playing a lot of time, and because Stewart or Bagley are spending time at the 4, if all of a sudden you decide, oh, this would make me so mad, that instead of having Hamidou Diallo lose minutes, you're going to have Isaiah Livers lose minutes. I want Livers to be the backup for Sadiq Bey. If Sadiq Bey is going to play 32 minutes, Livers needs to play the other 16. It's that simple. Hamidou Diallo should not see the court if Livers isn't forced to play the 4. It's that simple. He is not good enough defensively to do that because to make up. I'm sorry. That made it sound like I think defense is his weakness. Defense is not his weakness. Shooting is his weakness. Remember when he shot from the corner last week? Hit the top of the backboard. That's not the first time we've seen things like this from him. He has great jumping ability. He's a great cutter. He can get to the basket and he can play defense and he can get steals. He has many mental lapses. Isaiah Livers is a better defensive team player and he can shoot an outside shot. And you need outside shooting. So if I am seeing lineups of Jalen Duren, Marvin Bagley, Hamidou Diallo, I'm going to pull the little remaining hair I'm going to pull it out while I'm watching the game because I'm going to be like, do we just not care about spacing? Right? But this will allow better matchups for guys like Cade Cunningham. This will allow for better matchups for Bojan Bogdanovic, for Isaiah Livers, for Sadiq Bey. It will allow them to utilize their skill sets more. I'm excited about the potential for 2 big lineups with the Detroit Pistons. How about you? I know it's interesting and it's not something that you want to see every single game. But man, there's a lot of teams that are starting to deploy this because the Cavs were successful with it last year, and you have to be able to at least match up against it. Let me know what you think. Hit me with those comments. And hey, we'll see you on the next one. Go Pistons. Hit that subscribe button below.